2 years. Then I got there 5 years. They said to me, before we started, and that's a true story, before the project started.
Celine Dion's life has always been lived under a blinding spotlight, but behind the music and glamour lies a story of resilience, heartbreak, and unshakable strength. In recent years, her son, René Charles, has begun stepping out of her shadow. For years, the world assumed he would follow directly in her footsteps, destined to become the next great singer of the Dion family. But at 24, René Charles revealed a truth he had kept hidden for years. His passion wasn't just music. Quietly, away from the public eye, he had been chasing dreams his late father never got to see. Celine supported him fiercely, guarding his privacy while whispers swirled about why he had chosen such a different path. What he has admitted in recent years finally explains the silence, and in many ways, echoes the protective love that has defined Celine's life since the day she was born. Celine Dion's story began on March 30th, 1968, in the small town of Charlemagne, just outside Montreal. She was the youngest of 14 children, born into a house overflowing with laughter, noise, and chaos. Her mother used to joke that there wasn't room for even one more spoon at the dinner table. Their home was so crowded that when Celine was brought home from the hospital, there was no crib waiting for her. Her parents placed her in a dresser drawer lined with blankets. It wasn't quirky, it was necessity. Her father earned little as a butcher, while her mother managed the household, sewing clothes from scraps and making food stretch for nearly 20 mouths. They had no luxury, no quiet, but they had music. Her father sang, her mother played the violin, and the family filled their tiny home with songs. Even her name came from a French ballad her parents adored. In those early years, surrounded by both poverty and melody, Celine's destiny was already being written, but the outside world wasn't kind. At school, she was mocked relentlessly for her appearance. Thin, with protruding teeth, she was cruelly nicknamed Vampire by classmates. Local tabloids later joined in, calling her Canine Dion when she first began performing publicly. The bullying left scars that stayed with her for life, and she confessed that she dreaded walking into class each morning. School became a place of humiliation, not learning, and she admitted years later, "I detested school." Yet, while the classroom made her feel small, the Dion household gave her confidence. Her siblings, all musical, formed a family band that performed at local venues across Quebec. At just 5 years old, Celine was singing in her parents' piano bar, not as a novelty act, but as part of the show. By 12, she had written her first song, and with her mother and brother's help, she recorded a demo. That demo changed everything. Her mother, Therese, believed in Celine so deeply that she mortgaged the family home just to send the tape to a manager named René Angélil. At the time, René was managing Quebec's most famous singer, Jeanette Reno, and when he pressed play on Celine's recording, he heard something that stopped him cold. It was, he later said, the best voice he had ever heard. Moved to tears, he mortgaged his own home to fund the career of a 12-year-old girl with no stage experience. People told him he was insane, but within a few short years, Celine was proving him right. By the late 1980s, she was already a sensation in Quebec, releasing 9 French-language albums before turning 18. In 1988, she stepped onto the Eurovision Song Contest stage representing Switzerland and stunned the world with her victory. Overnight, she became a star across Europe. But behind the fame, something else was happening. The teenage girl had fallen in love with René, her manager, who was 26 years her senior. For years, they kept their relationship hidden, knowing the world would never accept it. Her mother was horrified when she discovered the secret, but Celine stood her ground, insisting she had the right to love whomever she chose. At 19, the secret romance became real, and in time, it would grow into one of the most enduring love stories in music history. By the early 1990s, Celine was ready to conquer the English-speaking world. She disappeared from the spotlight for 18 months, undergoing dental surgery, learning fluent English, and reinventing her image. Her first English-language album, Unison, made her an international star. Songs like Where Does My Heart Beat now climbed the charts, and Jay Leno himself predicted on live television that she would have an extraordinary career. He was right. From there, Celine's rise was unstoppable. In 1992, she performed Beauty and the Beast at the Academy Awards, earning both an Oscar and a Grammy. By the mid-90s, she was selling millions of albums worldwide. Then came Falling Into You in 1996 and Let's Talk About Love in 1997, two albums that each sold over 30 million copies, a record no other female artist has matched. And, of course, There Was My Heart Will Go On, the theme from Titanic, which became one of the most successful songs in history. It sold 18 million copies worldwide and played on radios so often that it seemed inescapable. The song defined an era, cementing her place among the greatest voices of all time. Her personal life, however, was filled with challenges. She and René married in 1994 in a televised ceremony watched by millions, but their journey to parenthood was long and painful. Years of failed fertility treatments, a miscarriage, and relentless media scrutiny tested them both. In 2001, after multiple rounds of IVF, Celine finally gave birth to their son, René Charles. Later in 2010, she welcomed twin boys, Nelson and Eddie, using embryos that had been frozen nearly a decade earlier. Motherhood brought her immense joy, but her happiness was overshadowed by René's recurring battle with throat cancer. For nearly 2 decades, Celine balanced global superstardom with the role of caretaker, often canceling tour and shows to nurse him through treatments. When he passed away in 2016, she was by his side, holding his hand until the very end. Even in the midst of grief, Celine kept singing. Her Las Vegas residency, which began in 2003, had already redefined the city. Once considered the last stop for fading stars, Vegas became a hub for music's biggest acts because of her. Over 5 years, she sold more than 3 million tickets, grossing nearly $400 million, and setting the blueprint for residencies later taken up by Elton John, Britney Spears, and Lady Gaga. She had proven, yet again, that she wasn't just a singer, she was a pioneer. But in recent years, Celine has faced her greatest battle yet. After years of unexplained symptoms, she was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, a rare and incurable neurological disorder that causes severe muscle spasms. In the 2024 documentary I Am, Celine Dion, she allowed cameras to capture the harsh reality of her illness, including an 8-minute seizure that left her unable to move or speak. It was raw, vulnerable, and heartbreaking, but she insisted on showing the truth so her fans could understand. Today, her teenage sons, Nelson and Eddie, help care for her, trained to recognize the signs of a medical crisis and ready to act if one comes. It is a heavy burden for children so young, but they carry it with love. Despite everything, Celine continues to be honored worldwide. She has received France's Legion of Honor, countless Grammy Awards, and recognition as one of Canada's greatest artists of all time. Her influence stretches across generations, and her voice remains a symbol of strength, love, and survival. Meanwhile, René Charles is carving his own identity, releasing hip-hop music and competing in professional poker tournaments, even earning over $70,000 in the 2025 World Series of Poker. In his own way, he is carrying forward the spirit of both his parents, his mother's determination, and his father's passion. Through it all, Celine Dion's story remains one of extraordinary resilience. From a baby in a dresser drawer to a global icon, from a bullied schoolgirl to one of the most celebrated voices in history, her journey proves that love, perseverance, and hope can carry us through even the darkest battles. And though her health may limit her today, her music and her legacy continue to shine brighter than ever.